My hostel situation in Galway, not terribly shocking that I accidentally booked the nights incorrectly. So I showed up for the first night in my all-female dorm and no reservation. That meant that I had to sleep in a mixed room dorm last night. And some of these hostels, you guys, 5-6 beds in a 12 by 12 room is not cool. And this one didn't have a window. I'm not trying to hate on the fellas and the dudes out there, but quite frankly, you're stinkier, smellier, louder, and more obnoxious than girls overall. I mean, that's just my general take on things, which is probably why I get along with you so well. I was kind of dreading it, and I went up there to check out my room. Apparently one of them's free, but every last one of those beds has shit all over it. Bags, underwear, wet towels. Which bed do I pick? Nobody's there. I'm sure they're all out getting trash. They're probably 20-year-olds hitting the town of Galway. No freaking idea. No thought that, maybe somebody else might need this bed. I don't know what they're thinking. 5 beds. Group of 4 and 37-year-old mom of 3 me. Okay? So I chose the bed that seemed like it would be the least obtrusive to wake up in the morning and get the hell out of there. And there were like whiskers and shit all over it from this guy's razor. Gross. I'm taking the bed I want. I tried to be nice. Now I'm going to take the bed I want. So I moved all the shit off the bed I wanted and put it on one of the other beds. And I popped my earplugs in and I put my sleep mask on and I went to sleep. I was sleeping. It's probably 3:30 or 4 a.m. And I hear the stampede of drunkards. I hear it coming. I'm all too familiar with it. And I know where they're going. They're going to room 29, floor 1. That's my room. They're all laughing and shouting and fumbling about trying to find their room key. And finally they find their room key and they open up the door and they all step in and I go, "Hey guys." And they're like, "Ah, somebody's in our room." And they jump out of the room and they close the door. Welcome to Sabbatical or Suicide. My name is Kathleen, and this is episode 13, Confession in Galway. After my luxurious slumber party in the co-ed room, I woke up and immediately moved my stuff into an all-female room. Then stepped outside into a crystal clear, bright, crisp day. It was like walking into some bizarre wonderland, because lucky for me, I randomly landed in this town during the annual Galway International Arts Festival, which is described as the biggest, most exciting, most imaginative explosion of arts activity this country has. As I walked the streets, taking in the Broadway-worthy dancers, the old, weathered sand artists stretched across the sidewalk, the musicians marching and playing in the streets, the acrobats, the painters, the puppeteers, I couldn't help but think how nice it would be to share this with someone. Wait a minute. Tinder. Maybe one of the every woman in Galway who I swiped right on responded. Let me check. Sweet. Looky there. Someone did. I'm going to call her Cinny. Cinny. In my limited experience, Tinder can be weird. I mean, it's hit or miss. It's random as shit. It doesn't mean anything. How do you possibly describe yourself in a way that could convey really anything about you in 300 words or less? You can't. So what you got is a face. Or, like in Cindy's case, a picture of a rock. And so we started this conversation. All I knew is this rock formation picture. She's 30 years old, which seems a little young to me. It really does. I'll admit it. We had a little banter back and forth. Then I said, I don't know the slightest, tiniest thing about you. You are a woman, right? And she said, yes, of course. And so I asked her, I said, would you mind sending me a picture of yourself? I'm not trying to be weird. I just kind of like to know who I'm talking to. So she was really cool about it. And she was like, yeah, oh yeah, no, I totally understand. And so she quickly posted a couple pictures of herself. And I was like, wow, I kind of had a hunch this girl would be cute. And she is cute. So I asked her after we had been chatting a bit back and forth. I told her I'd be happy to tell her all about it in person as far as my travels and stuff and answer all the questions she had. But I'm not a big texter, which is true. And I think there is a generational difference there. So when I talked about the generational thing, she wrote back and she's like, you're not over the hill yet. And I was like, easy, tiger. And she said, well, you know what they say. The older the fiddle, the sweeter the tune. I'm not going to lie. I was totally flattered by that. I'm like, that is so clever and so cute. But more importantly than being cute, it just showed me that she had a little fire, a little sense of humor, a little ability to be playful. And I can't say that for everybody on Tinder. In fact, I'm surprised at what little affect most people have. If you're going to message somebody, don't say, hi. What are you thinking when you message somebody who you're a match with and you say, hi? If you can tell somebody has a sense of humor on Tinder, that's a real big bonus because most of the time, chatting with somebody on Tinder is like trying to converse with a piece of ham. So we made a plan. She would pick me up about 6, and we'd go from there. Once we made that plan, though, I didn't hear from her for hours. I figured she'd blown me off, and then about an hour or so before 6, a text came in. It was Cindy. It read, can we push it to 8? That's it. No explanation. That was all. Can we push it to 8? Odd. The no communication at all and then the unexplained time delay, but sure. Then a few more hours went by. Again, nothing. And again, I figured she'd blown me off. And again. Can we push it to 10? Sure. Odd. Even a little more odd, but okay. At this point, I didn't care if she came or not, but I did feel pretty confident that there is something a little off here. And if she does show up, it's likely to be mighty awkward, and nobody wants to step into that sober. So I headed up the street to the pub. Okay, here I am at, Brogan's Bar. And I had my first beer bought for me in Ireland by this very nice, handsome young man, Paul.
Have a shot, a baby Guinness.
And what's in the baby Guinness?
Just throw it back. And say nothing. Just throw it back and say nothing.
Okay, I'm going to do it. The thing is, these Irish folks are laughing at me, so I sense I'm probably about to take a strong shot.
Who?
Whoa, it tastes like a candy. My question was, am I going to be all fucked up after I drink this and if I have another Budweiser? And this nice lady at the bar says to me, "You said you're in Ireland." She said, "You're in Ireland. What do you expect?" Paul asked me if I liked the baby Guinness. And of course I loved it. In fact, I thought what we called it in the state is a buttery nipple. And Paul tells me that is not the case.
You have to compare.
And what do you call what you got me?
Slippery nipple.
Okay, so 2 Budweisers, a baby Guinness shot later. He wants to know my opinion if a slippery nipple is like the buttery nipple or like the baby Guinness.
You have to compare. Is that an American drink or is it an Irish drink? Throw it back and tell me.
Don't cheers the nipple. Just because the nipple goes. The nipple goes.
Hey, Paul, I think I'm going to hate you in the... Oh, fuck. I just spilled this goddamn thing in my bag. Fortunately, no, it's all good. It's all good.
Straight back. Straight back.
All right, go. Jesus Christ.
What the hell is that? John, what was in that?
That is horrible.
Here's my review. The slippery nipple, it cannot compare to the baby Guinness. Paul's given himself a fist bump. Yes, there's our high five. Somewhere between the buttery nipple and the slippery nipple. You have got to be kidding me. Cindy? Again? At this point, I was really hoping she canceled. I excused myself to the bathroom to see what was up. Her text reads, "Would it be okay if we just talked on the sidewalk for a bit before you get into my car and we go somewhere?" There is something about this girl that is notably strange. But I messaged her back and I said, absolutely, totally fine. As a matter of fact, if you were my daughter, I would be so proud of you for taking care of yourself and being protective. Good for you. And of course, I hadn't mentioned to her that I had kids, so that sounded really weird, I'm sure. In fact, she wrote back, "That's kind of weird." But seriously, I was thinking of my little G, and I was thinking, she sure as hell better make damn well sure she has at least a little sense of somebody in real life before she goes away with him, for fuck's sake. Ever seen America's Most Wanted?
Maybe I love you quite as often as I could have.
As I was heading back to the Nipple Pushing Irish Boys, I had to walk through the live music room. The live music consisted of the bar owner, who had been playing one bad version of early American rock and roll after another, literally since I arrived. There he was, strumming away to his audience of one. Imagine the old man who sleeps on the city bench, begs for money on his paint can, and doesn't even bother smiling or making eye contact anymore. This was the riveting bar owner's audience. A forlorn old man with a long gray beard, black skull cap, and his bottomless beer sitting there staring straight ahead, offering only as many claps as he could muster at the end of each song. I stopped for a few minutes in the corner there and recorded a bit of the scene. As I was filming, it was hard not to imagine that being me someday, if I don't make some serious changes, if I even make it that long.
Girl, I'm sorry I was blind. You were always on my mind. You were always on my mind.
But it's not me now, and last I checked, I've got a date to catch.
Do you want another one?
No, God, no. I'm leaving now, goddamn you.
The buttery nipple and the slippery nipple.
Don't order another one. I'm leaving. I'm fucking leaving. I'm out of here. I'm leaving. I have to go. A friend is waiting for me. No, sir. Thank you. Give me a hug. Give me a hug. It was so fun. No. I'm leaving. I'm cutting you off. I'm cutting me off. I'm heading to meet my friend. Goodbye, you crazy Irishman. Goodbye.
I'm gonna pick my baby up.
As usual, I had zero expectations of this date with Cindy. Actually, that's not true. I did have one, that she might not show up at all. But as I had absolutely nothing to lose, I wandered on out into the dark chill of the Galway night, just in case she did. So she showed up, and she was parked down at the end of the street. She was the one car with the lights on, idling. And I have to say, it was kind of strange. I mean, it was late. I was so tired from the night before. I was just barely hanging on, but I was happy she showed up. And I was kind of nervous, like, she's going to show up, and I'm going to be totally like, oh, God, she's a total dork. But she wasn't a dork. She was cute, and she definitely seemed a little nervous, like she was holding back on something. I wasn't sure exactly what. So we drove drove and drove and drove. And I was like, are you sure you're not taking me to the woods to kill me or something? We pulled into this spot that she had remembered from years ago that was a cute little spot to chat and sit on the water. Can I put that in quotations? To, quote, chat and sit on the water. We went there and I'm like, this is like a 1980s movie overlooking the cliffs, high school makeout place. This is a let's go park kind of place. And I was making a joke about it and she's like, I know, right? So then we decided to go somewhere else. And so we found another place up the road on the water, got out of the car. I asked her if she was a smoker because her car stank of cigarettes and she was chomping on gum like she was trying to save her life with her jaws. Yeah, smoker. Yay, that means I get to smoke. So we got out of the car and we're chatting a little bit and having a smoke. And I said, so tell me about this Tinder thing. I'm just so curious. What exactly do you think is going to come of having one picture of a rock? Like, what are you hoping to gain by that? Then she tells me she's a prison nurse. And the people who work at the prison have so little to do, and all the guards are such douchebags that all they do is talk about everybody else's drama constantly. And she's seen people that she knows on Tinder, and she doesn't want anybody to see her on Tinder. Like, I get that, I guess. I mean, I kind of get that. So she tells me that, and then she kind of nervously says, well, the thing is, like, can I tell you something? And I said, yeah, sure, what? And she said, I just don't really know for sure if I want to be with guys or girls. As any old lesbian might know, that's not our favorite thing to hear. And at the same time, I'm incredibly supportive, and I encourage anybody and everybody who has any inkling at all to experiment with the same sex, no matter where you are in your life, to get after it and do it because it's so great. So great. Short of it is, it's not what you want to hear. So she doesn't want her picture on Tinder. She doesn't want anybody to know that she might be into the ladies. She's in this kind of new experimenting space, I guess. So I was curious. So I asked her, what is your experience with women? She kind of shyly, a little evasively says that she's been with 2 women, but she's never had a relationship with them. I was like, when you say you've been with 2 women, do you mean you kind of dated or you kind of... And then she's like, no, just like made out. And then a little later, she said that really it was just one girl at a party. And I was like, well, what were the circumstances about? She said, well, she just really made out with this one girl one time and they were drunk. It was fine, but she thinks it's really much more about the person than it is the physical connection. And she just wasn't that into the person. So it wasn't that good. Let's just say it didn't flow. It didn't flow like a completely genuine, authentic experience and true memory might flow. So, I mean, I picked up on that, but I don't care. Look, I'm not trying to marry the girl. I'm just hanging out, getting the story right. We had a lot of fun. We sat there and we chatted for a long time. And she tells me that she was not nervous shortly after meeting me. So that's good. That makes me happy. I don't want people to be nervous around me. It's like the worst. So we had this lovely time. And I was like, so what do you want to do? Whatever you want to do is cool. You can drop me back at the hostel. We can go pick up my shit and go somewhere. We can do whatever you want to do. And we had this very kind of awkward, a little playful, a little gamey kind of back and forth sort of situation. I was like, I mean, if we go get a place, I can sleep on the floor. And I meant it. I mean, I'm trying to be respectful and polite. And by the way, she told me she's almost 31, so she's not that much younger than me. But you know, she's new to all this. She's clearly new to the game. She's new to the ladies, and I'm not going to be like this prowling old dyke. So, so I said I could sleep on the floor, and she looked at me and she's like, if we get a place, you're not sleeping on the floor. And I was like, whoa, really? Okay. And so we played this little gamey situation. We weren't sure where to go. And then we decided, well, yeah, let's try a place or two and see if anything's free. First couple places we called, it wasn't free. And I was like, well, that's okay. You can just drop me back off at the hostel. We can catch up tomorrow or something. And she kind of pauses, and we're in the car. And the car, by the way, is a small car, like the one I had in high school. It was like a Geo Metro. She told me the name of it. I've never heard of it, but it's small. It's like a little car on roller skates. Neither of us are tiny ladies. Doesn't leave a lot of space. We don't have a place to go. We're sitting there on this street under a street light like teenagers. And I just looked at her and I said, you kind of want to kiss me just a little bit, don't ya? I can't believe I'm telling you guys a story. I don't know if I'm going to put it out there. Oh, God. Oh, God. Was so nervous, and she was like, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I've wanted to all night. And so guess what happened next? Yes, right. We had a little kissy poo under the streetlight in the tin can. And it was kind of strange. It was kind of like kissing a teenager. I mean, I don't know what it's like to kiss a teenager, but I remember being a teenager and I remember what it's like kissing as a teenager, and it wasn't great. Granted, I was kissing boys, and I didn't want to be kissing boys. And teenage boys don't know how to kiss for shit. And so it was just kind of weird, and it was kind of this very, like, just remember what it was like to kiss someone as a teenager, y'all. That's what it was like initially. Then quickly we moved beyond the awkward first kissing situation into a more engaged sort of physical connection of sorts, if you will. And we got a little hot and bothered in there. It was great. Kind of awkward and uncomfortable because of the tin can situation, but it was hot. Then she said, we cannot keep making out here. We have to go somewhere else. And I was like, okay, that's cool. You want to keep making out? I'm not going to say no. Hello. So we drive back to the first makeout spot that we went through to begin with and proceeded to have a lovely time, quite a wonderful time in the car. There's not a whole lot you can do. You're very limited by space and the potential of anybody or anyone coming by, or, as we've all probably experienced at some point or another in our lives, the famous cop knocking at your fucking window with the flashlight pointing at you. Awkward. Happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. Not cool. And it's probably way less cool when you're coming up on 40. So we had this lovely time. We were listening to the waves. We had parked on this little waterfront. It was just beautiful. The moon was over the water. I mean, you couldn't really set a more kind of romantic scene. And so after that, she says to me that she has a confession to make. And I think to myself, what could you possibly need or want to confess to me when you've known me for a handful of hours? And I'm leaving the country, probably never to be seen or heard from again in a week or so. And what do you need to confess? I mean, that's what I thought. But I said, okay, nothing you could say would surprise me. Seriously, please feel comfortable. Feel free. What do you want to tell me? And she's like, I'll tell you in a minute. Okay. And I said, I know you don't have a penis. And she was like, actually, And then she started laughing. Then I was like, what have you had like sex with an animal or something? And she's like, no, it's nothing like that. Well, what is it? Just tell me. You can tell me. And she says, well, you were saying how honest and straightforward I seem. And the truth is I've never kissed a girl before you. The non-responsiveness, the pushing the date back and back and back and back, the notably awkward and evasive descriptions of her being with other women while she chain smoked cigarettes, the instantaneous flashback to gangly teenage kissing. Oh, now it all makes sense. Before this night, Cindy has never had a sexual experience with a woman whatsoever in her entire life. I can't say I've ever experienced such a sudden mood shift as I did in that moment. Just like that, I went from silly, flirty, carefree, loosey-goosey, whatever, to protective, fiercely empathetic, and almost maternal. I received the information gently, gave Cindy a hug, and as sweetly and swiftly as I could, transitioned to, I am so wiped out. I have got to get some sleep. Shall we call it a day? After Cindy dropped me at my hostel, I slept hard, but only for 2 hours, as I had to be checked out of my room by 10 a.m. My day-to-day planning has bitten me yet again. The biggest horse race of the year in all of Ireland was happening that weekend. So not only could I not find anywhere to stay in Galway that night, the nearest place I could find was 2.5 hours south in a town called Cork. And the only bus ticket left to get there didn't leave until that evening. I had no choice but to sludge my luggage from bar to bar, passing the time until my bus left. Since I ended up right by the bus station, I drank until the very last minute, then stumbled across the street and handed my ticket to the little Irish guy, and he says,
I know. That bus leaves from the other station. It's about 5 blocks from here. You better hustle because it's leaving in 5 minutes.
Damn it. You think running with your luggage is hard? Try running with your luggage on 2 hours of sleep and 5 pints of Guinness. Hello. I thought I would do a little recording right now because the reality is that I am more exhausted than I have been on this entire trip. I think even my max torturous hungover day in Barcelona on the beach, I was less tired than I am right now. That's because I stayed up until 6 a.m. and I had to get up at 9:30 a.m. I couldn't find a place anywhere. The only place that I could find is this little travel lodge, and it's one of those shitty little motels that you would find near an airport in the middle of nowhere that is completely outdated, and the faucets don't work right, and the toilet flushes poorly, and people clearly smoke in here, even though there are no smoking signs all over the place. You get my point. You can picture the kind of travel lodge I'm talking about. The only place available in the entire damn town is this place. I just feel like I've been dropped back into like the early 90s, late 80s, in the middle of Kansas somewhere, and I don't like it. It's like, whoa, was that all a dream? Am I just sitting outside of an airport somewhere in the U.S. right now or what? I mean, just super trippy. So But yeah, man, I get fucking tired out here sometimes. Sometimes I feel like an old lady, you know? I'm just like hitting it all the time. I can't even like keep my eyes open. Sometimes I just gotta stop. And this is one of those times. Ah, 15 hours of uninterrupted sleep. Just what the doctor ordered. I had one more night in Cork and absolutely nothing to do. So I grabbed a bottle of wine and decided to have a little recording party in my hotel room. My experience with Zinni flooded me with memories of my own coming out story and reminded me that coming out often is a sabbatical or suicide moment for a lot of people. More often than not, it's not what I think of me that makes it so hard to come out. It's the fear surrounding what you will think of me if I do. And that's a shame. We fear what we don't understand. So in the hopes of increasing understanding, I have decided to do something a little different here, which is to produce and release a bonus episode right along with this one, in which I will not only share my coming out story in humbling detail, I can literally feel the sensation in my body of what that was like the first time to kiss a girl. It was like, oh, now I get it. But I thought it would be great fun to have a few of my friends come on the show and share theirs, as they represent what feels like a growing number of people who are coming out later in life. First, we'll hear from Heather.
We buy a house, we get married, jobs were good, money was flowing, everything was great. We're in church and we're leading a life group. We start raising babies. The whole, like if you just took a snapshot of my life, it looked like the American dream on the outside.
Next, Dylan.
I wanted to be heterosexual because I saw other guys that had girlfriends and I saw just kind of how happy they seemed, because it's kind of what's expected. You find somebody, you know, you marry them and you have kids and you live happily ever after. With that equation not open to me, I had a lot of inner doubt of what my future was going to be, and that was terrifying.
Finally, we'll hear from my best friend since I was 15, Amy.
And I was in love with him. So I already knew that in my head. Like, I already knew I liked men. It wasn't like I was faking it. It never really, truthfully, occurred to me to be interested in a woman until Jay came along.
Right.
And then she was everything I never expected in a lady.
For those of you who have no interest in a bunch of queer talk, just skip on past that bonus episode and pick back up in episode 14, Titanic, where, against my better judgment, I'll share part 2 of the Zinni story, and I'll take you with me as I board the Titanic, just as the last passengers did at her final port of call in Queenstown, Ireland. Finally, the one constant connection I've had throughout this whole trip, Leanne from Amsterdam, will join me for my final days of this tremendous adventure in Dublin. As always, you can follow the show, see pictures of the journey, and send me a message on my Facebook page, Sabbatical or Suicide. And please, never forget that no matter what you're going through in life today, it will pass, and you are not alone. Thanks so much for listening. I'm Kathleen, and this is Sabbatical or Suicide. Blooper bit. They're all laughing and shouting and fumbling about trying to find their room key. And finally they find their room key and they open up the door and they all step in and I go, "Hey guys." And they're like, "Ah!" somebody's in our room. And they jump out of the room and they close the door. Then I hear them kind of talking kind of quietly, like, what the fuck, what's going on? And so they all step in, and the first person in is a girl. Naturally, the guys are behind her. And she's like, hello? And I said, hey guys, what's up? Come on in. There was shit all over the bed, so I just took this one. But that's my bed. I don't know what to tell you. Good luck. There's 4 other beds here.